What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be diving into Him, the 2025 horror film that had all the ingredients for success, but somehow managed to fumble harder than a quarterback in the Super Bowl. And trust me, that football metaphor is going to make a lot more sense in a minute. So picture this. You're Cameron Cade, a rising football star with dreams of making it to the NFL. You're practicing late at night, one night, but suddenly, bam, someone in a goat costume attacks you, giving you a concussion that threatens your entire career. Already sounds wild, right? Well, buckle up. We're just getting started. The basic premise isn't terrible. Cam can't participate in the NFL Combine because of his head injury. But then his childhood hero, legendary quarterback Isaiah White, offers to personally train him at his remote desert compound. It's like if Tom Brady invited you to his private facility, except Tom Brady might be involved in a supernatural football cult, which would honestly explain a lot about his longevity and that cameo in Ted 2. But here's where things get interesting, and by interesting, I mean completely insane. Our boy Cam heads out to the desert compound, and almost immediately, we're thrown into this fever dream of blood transfusions disguised as energy drinks, mysterious masked figures, and enough goat imagery to make a petting zoo jealous. Now, you've probably seen Jordan Peele's name all over the marketing for this movie. His production company, Monkey Paw, is attached, and the trailers basically scream from the producer of Get Out and Us. I would say Nope, but I don't think anyone really likes Nope, unless you're like a film nerd. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. Peele didn't want to make this movie. See, Peele was actually trying to get his hands on Weapons, that brilliant horror comedy movie that's been crushing it at the box office. When he couldn't secure those rights, Monkey Paw ended up settling for Him instead, which at the time was written as the movie Goat. It was a screenplay that was on the 2022 blacklist. And wow, does it show. This is like ordering a premium steak online and getting a fancy-looking but completely flavorless piece of cardboard instead. Speaking of box office, let's talk numbers because they're brutal. Weapons made over $45 million worldwide on a $15 million budget. Him, $17 million worldwide on a $27 million budget. That's not just a flop, that's a crater where a movie used to be. So let's get back to the story of this movie. So Cam arrives at Isaiah's compound, and this is where director Justin Tipping apparently decided that coherent storytelling was optional. We get scene after scene of Isaiah, who's played by Marlon Wayans, putting Cam through increasingly disturbing training exercises. There's this one drill where a football machine just repeatedly hits players in the head, which feels like the movie's literally telling us it's going to give us brain damage. Isaiah's also secretly giving Cam injections of his own blood, claiming it's some kind of energy booster, because nothing says legitimate athletic training like mystery blood transfusions from your increasingly unhinged mentor. And speaking of unhinged, Marlon Wayans is actually really good in this movie. He's trying his best. The man's committed to making this role in ways that almost make you forget how ridiculous the material is. There's the scene where he puts a gun in his mouth, not to threaten suicide, just as some kind of bizarre intimidation tactic, and somehow Wayans sells it. The problem here is he's the only one who seems to understand what kind of movie he's in. There's the lead actor issue, which brings us to Tyreek Withers as our protagonist Cameron, and I hate to say this, but the guy is just not ready for leading man duties, especially just with this movie at least. His line delivery is flat, his emotional range is kind of limited, and he's about as convincing as an NFL quarterback as I would be probably. When your entire movie hinges on the audience caring about this character's journey, and the actor can't sell that journey, everything else crumbles. That's not to say Tyreek Withers is really bad in this role. I really think he's fine, but there really needed to be something more memorable here. And honestly, this is a bit subjective, but I read the script, and I even feel like in the original script, they give Cam more of a character. There's more of this fear there where he's at this house and weird things start happening and he's questioning them. In the movie, in at least the final product, he doesn't question things as much, and it honestly just makes the character feel kind of dumb. There's this moment early on where Cam is supposed to be devastated about potentially losing his football career, and Withers delivers it all with the emotional weight of reading a grocery list. Compare that to someone like Lupita Nyong'o in Us, or Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out, or Nope, or Keke Palmer in Nope. Those actors make you believe in their terror and desperation. Here, I'm more worried about whether Cam remembered to turn off his car headlights. Now, Him desperately wants to be Rosemary's baby. Both movies feature protagonists being groomed by seemingly helpful figures who are actually part of supernatural cults. Both have this slow burn reveal where trusted mentors turn out to have sinister motives. But here's why Polanski's masterpiece works and Him doesn't. Character development. In Rosemary's Baby, you genuinely like and trust the neighbors at first. John Cassavetes seems like a loving husband making reasonable career choices. When the horror reveals itself, it's devastating because you believed in those relationships early on. Him never makes you believe in anyone. Isaiah is clearly unhinged from his first scene, so there's no sense of betrayal when he turns villainous. Cam feels like more of a plot device than an actual person. The movie mistakes cryptic behavior for character depth. which is like mistaking a magic 8-ball for Shakespeare. Let me be clear about something too. Him looks absolutely gorgeous. Justin Tipping knows how to compose a shot, and the cinematography genuinely captures both the sweaty intensity of football training and the surreal horror of cult sequences. Bobby Krellick's score, fresh off his work with Ari Aster, and he even did the Blue Beetle score, which I thought was pretty good. Blue Beetle was a very average movie. Bobby Krellick's score, though, is genuinely haunting and probably one of the best things about the entire movie. But pretty pictures can't fix fundamental story problems. The movie is edited like the world's most expensive music video, with constant cuts and strobe effects that literally are just distracting to watch. I'm not exaggerating. There were moments where I was closing my eyes because the flashing was so intense, and I also just couldn't hear what was going on. Like, there's moments of dialogue, and then it just switches, and they're playing trap music. It's just such a weird, loud movie. It's like the filmmakers thought that if they made every shot look like a perfume commercial, nobody would notice that the story makes no sense. Spoiler alert, we noticed. Speaking of making no sense, let's talk about the symbolism in this movie. Him suffers from what I like to call film school syndrome. It's like someone read every book about movie metaphors and decided to cram them all into one film. We've got football as a religion, obviously. The team is called the Saviors because subtlety is dead. There's goat imagery everywhere because the main character's last name is Cade, and goat can mean greatest of all time, but also, Satan, get it? The movie certainly hopes you do, because it's gonna beat you over the head with it for 96 minutes. Then there are the white team owners who are literally cultists wearing animal masks, father figures representing God, resurrection, metaphors through injury recovery, blood as communion. I could go on, but I think you get the picture. It's like someone threw a bunch of religious and sports imagery into a blender and hoped something coherent would come out. Compare this to Jordan Peele's actual directorial work. Get Out has clear, focused metaphors about race and exploitation. Nope uses spectacle and surveillance as commentary on entertainment culture. They trust their audience to understand without explaining every symbolic choice with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. And we get to the ending where the movie completely loses whatever grip on reality it had left. Turns out Isaiah is part of some lineage of manufactured greatest of all time players who gain supernatural abilities through ritual blood transfers. The team owners have been orchestrating everything, including the death of Cam's father years earlier. The revelation comes during a scene where the owners, wearing animal masks, try to get Cam to sign a contract while he's connected to an IV drip of Isaiah's blood. It's like if Ready or Not had a baby with Any Given Sunday, and that baby was dropped on his head repeatedly. These moments at the end of the movie are so ridiculous. They'd be hilarious in a campy horror comedy in a way, but him is taking itself so seriously, they just become unintentionally funny. Cam eventually kills Isaiah with a football helmet, then massacres the entire cult with various sports equipment. It's supposed to be this triumphant moment of breaking free from exploitation, but it feels more like watching someone have a psychotic break at Dick's Sporting Goods. The tragedy of him is that buried somewhere in this mess is a decent concept. The cult of sports celebrity, the lengths people will go to for greatness, the exploitation of young athletes. These are rich themes that could support a compelling horror story. The original script, called Goat, was apparently much simpler, and it was more focused. It was basically a straightforward sports horror story, and it did have this supernatural cult mythology in it, but it just played a bit more simple. While it wasn't necessarily better overall, it had clearer pacing and didn't get lost in its own symbolism. The changes made for him, adding the blood ritual elements, expanding the supernatural framework, cramming in every possible metaphor, were clearly attempts to make it feel more elevated. This is exactly the wrong instinct, and that's why Weapons worked. Sometimes a simple, well-executed concept beats a complicated, poorly executed one. Every time. Him represents everything that's wrong with modern elevated horror. It's so concerned with appearing intelligent and artistic that it forgets the basics of filmmaking. You need characters we care about before you put them in danger. You need logical story progression, not just random creepy stuff happening. You need to pick a tone and stick with it instead of ping-ponging between serious social commentary and unintentional comedy. The movie is ashamed to just be a sports horror movie. It thinks that would be beneath it, so instead it drowns it in pretension while delivering neither effective scores nor meaningful commentary. It's like watching someone try to make a gourmet meal, but forgetting to actually cook the ingredients. And audiences could tell. With a $27 million budget and only $17 million worldwide gross, Him joins the ranks of 2025's biggest disasters. Compare this to other recent horror successes. Barbarian made $45 million on a $4.5 million budget. Smile pushed in $270 million on $17 million. Even Weapons, the movie Peele actually wanted to make, earned $45 million on $15 million. The pattern is clear. Audiences respond to horror films that understand their own identity and execute it well. They can smell desperation and pretension from a mile away, and Him reeks of both. Look, I don't take pleasure in tearing apart movies, It depends, honestly. Some I do like tearing apart if they're that bad. There are clearly talented people involved here, though. Tipping has an eye for visuals, Krillic's score is genuinely excellent, and Wayans is giving it everything he's got. But talent without focus is just expensive chaos. Him had all the resources to succeed. A decent premise, a strong technical team, and Jordan Peele's producing clout. Instead, it becomes a cautionary tale about what happens when filmmakers mistake visual flair for actual storytelling. There are glimpses of better movies buried in here. Maybe a tight 30-minute Black Mirror episode about an athletic obsession. Maybe a campy B horror romp about football cults that knew how it was ridiculous and leaned into the fun. Instead, we get 96 minutes of the most beautifully shot, incoherent mess in the year. So there you have it. Him is proof that sometimes the most expensive mistakes are the most painful to watch. All the technical brilliance in the world can't save this movie from being a story that doesn't know what it wants to be. So what did you think of him? Did I miss something, or were you as baffled as I was by this gorgeous disaster? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's biggest swings and misses. Until next time, I'll be over here trying to get over the phrase, cockle-doodle-doo, motherfucker. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching.